Hello friends! Oh my goodness, we have got some glorious sunshine here in England at the moment, and as you can see, I have positioned myself to soak it up whilst I am sharing with you. Does anyone else just love sitting on the floor in the sunshine? I feel like one of my happiest places is lying on the floor surrounded by my animals with the sun coming in through the window and that feeling of warmth and love it, love it. A very energizing place that is for me. Anyway, what I wanted to come on and talk a little bit about today was my experience with education in and after recovering. I have had a journey education-wise, and at the start of this year, so January 2025, I have gone back to university full-time to train as a physiotherapist. I have had a journey, I feel like, over the last few years of getting recovered and stepping back into my recovered life. I realised that the path I was on career-wise just wasn't right for me, and I have explored lots of different avenues, and I have spent a lot of time thinking and getting curious and exploring, and I'm really excited to explore my interests unrelated to eating disorders. But I'm also really interested to dive in more to my interest in the impact of energy deficiency on the body from a physiological, biological perspective. And I'm excited to see where this might lead me in terms of using my lived experience, using my experience as a coach in eating disorder recovery to branch into areas where I think there's more awareness needed. More awareness needed around REDS, relative energy deficiency in sport. More awareness needed around the negative implications of exercising and moving in an energy deprived state. More awareness and education needed around exercise addictions and exercise compulsivity and the negative effect that they absolutely have on people's lives. Really excited to be diving into those areas more and interested to see where it takes me. But that's not what exactly this video was about. What I wanted to share with you today is a few reflections that I've had over the past few weeks about the difference of going into full-time education now, recovered, versus the last time I was in full-time education when I was still very much struggling with an eating disorder. And the first thing that really stands out to me is the colossal difference in brain space that I have for studying now, and the ease of accessing that brain space and applying it to the things I'm learning. I remember being in an energy deprived state, being in my eating disorder and trying to study, and yes, I had all of the raw ingredients for diligence and obsessive ability to just lock in and read and study for hours on end. I had all of those things, but my brain was not in a place where it was ready to sponge information. It wasn't. And the difference between then and now is huge. I feel now like my brain is ready and primed to learn. I feel like I'm a sponge for things. But I also feel, and I suppose this kind of comes into my next point, I don't relate to that me who was so obsessive about studying. In my undergraduate degree, I did very well, but completely at the sacrifice of making friends on my course, completely at the sacrifice of really, truly enjoying the whole university experience. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to be painting a picture of a me who was just sat studying and did nothing else. No. And I think this is where we have to dismantle those black and white perspectives in mental illness, in eating disorders. That's not what I'm talking about. I technically joined clubs. I was part of societies. I went to socials. I spoke and laughed with people on my course. But I didn't actually really connect with anyone on my course. And yes, I went along to the clubs and the societies, but it was all being juggled around eating disorder. It was all being done as part of that conveyor belt existence. And the reality was I was in a stage of recovery at this time, but that conveyor belt existence was still very much present. I could have fooled myself time and time again that I was great and I was fine, and I did. And it was one of the things that I got to the end of my degree and had a very brutally honest conversation with myself and went, no, you're not recovered. Why are you trying to pretend that you are? You are very obviously not. And that's kind of part of what then led into me committing to quitting Quasi. But what I'm trying to say is the me now feels like I'm ready to absorb information, feels like my brain is spongy for new things, spongy to learn. But I don't feel in any way obsessive or rigid. I don't feel as studious as I have done at previous times. I actually find myself in a very normal place of kind of having to go, right, come on, you need to do that revision. You've got an exam. Come on, you need to do this. And I can find myself just being like, oh, just the start of this next episode, just the start, just the first 10 minutes. And then before you know it, oh dear, oh no, the start of the next one. And actually, again, this is one of those things I feel is like the extraordinary ordinary. It's one of those things where, I don't know, maybe with many more decades of recoveredness under my belt, these things will just become in no way extraordinary at all. But there have definitely been, especially as I've been reflecting on this topic for this video, just moments of just smiling at myself for being so gloriously normal as a student and kind of being like, yeah, I am keen and I want to learn and I show up and I ask questions and that's just how I am. But I'm also enjoying it truly and deeply. And I don't feel stressed and rigid and compulsive or obsessive about studying or the learning. I'm just doing it and enjoying it. And I'm doing it because I want to come out the other side as the best possible newly qualified physio that I can be and then go on to learn because I love to learn and it's something that's really important to me. And I'm really, really grateful to the fact that my recovery has enabled me to reclaim this fully and completely. And I suppose I just want to say another little bit about the whole connecting with people. I recognise a huge difference in my ability to show up completely as me and connect with other people now compared to when I was last in full-time education inside my eating disorder. Oh, hello, Nora. Yes. Have you come to say hello? The fluffiest. Oh, there you are. No, don't jump up there. That's my camera. Animals. Roka is currently at work with Andrew. She likes going, oh, there she is. There's the straight in with the butt shot. Yeah, she's currently there. Hello. Yes, I'm sure that they'll really appreciate that. They will love, that is exactly what. Nora, you can't, no, look, there we go. Look, come here. Come here. There we go. Sorry about that. Yes. Oh my goodness. How dare I stop fussing you? How dare I stop fussing you? How dare. You've got a little bit of something in your eye. And you've got some fluff. What is that? I'll sort it out. Right. Are you going? Move. Keep moving. Keep moving. There we go. Anyway, what I was trying to say is I recognise such a difference in my ability to connect with people truly, authentically, deeply now compared to when I was in Quasi, when I was in my eating disorder. I recognise that, yeah, I could go through the motions of connecting with people there, but I always felt like I was somehow outside looking in, like I wasn't really there. And it's so hard to explain, but that feels really different now. I feel like I show up and that's really cool. That's really cool. Another thing is that studying and university now feels like part of my life, not the whole thing. When I was doing my undergraduate, when I was in my eating disorder, it just became everything. It dominated. It took over. Whereas now it feels like it's part of my life. It feels like it's adding to my life. It feels like something I'm enjoying to do, and it's adding. It's not taking over, and it's not taking away from. And that also feels really quite distinctly different now compared to how it was then. I'm also way less affected by stress. Now, don't get me wrong. I am definitely more of a worrier than some people. Andrew, for example, he's just chill. I feel like nothing ruffles him. Whereas I get ruffled. When I have exams, when I care, I wear my heart on my sleeve, I get anxious, I get nervous, I get stressed. I'm not trying to sit here and pretend I never get stressed now that I'm recovered. But I'm in a place now where stress doesn't take over. It doesn't consume me. I feel like I have a real connection with myself and my body about where I'm at in terms of stress and anxiety. I feel like I have a real intuitive connection with what I need in any given moment in order to best support myself. I feel like I have a really solid toolkit of strategies and things that help me to manage stress. And I also feel like physiologically, my body is in a place where it can process stressful things, stressful events, stressful situations so much more easily. When I was energy deprived, when I was in my eating disorder still, my status quo was stressed. And even if I didn't relate to it as that, the reality now, I can think back to that me and be like, "Phew, gosh, you poor thing, you were just living in a constant state of stress," which makes sense because at the end of the day, starvation is very, very stressful to the body. But I was living in that status quo, that baseline level of stress was high. And so when I then added anything on, it very quickly became horrid. And my brain, being malnourished, being energy deprived, was not as well equipped to be able to navigate stressful scenarios. And generally what my response to stress was to just go inwards, to become super insular, to step back, to isolate, to go into myself and to do that. Whereas also, and I've only just really put this together now talking to you, now my automatic response is to kind of go outward, to go and speak to people, to let my emotions out, to sit and have a cry and hug Roka, and we'll try and hug a cat, but I love cats, but often you try and hug a cat when you're crying or you're sad, and they just sort of look at you like, "Oh dear, you are spoiling my feng shui. I'm leaving." Whereas I feel like dogs, maybe it's just my cats, dogs, but Roka's like, "Oh, okay, I'll come and be with you." Whereas as I say, Nora and Tika are both like, "Oh gosh, nope, we're over here. We will come back when we choose to." But I express, I connect, I reach out, and I feel like that as well is really different. So yeah, the whole stress experience is totally different now to then. And the last thing, before I wrap this up, because this has become a much longer video than I ever intended it to be, the other thing is I feel hungrier now because of studying. And actually, that's exactly as it ought to be. Your brain is the most energy demanding organ in your system. And asking your brain to be learning and studying and remembering and revising, it is energy demanding. And I, before my eating disorder, would always find that when I was asking myself to do more, whether that was mentally or physically, I got hungrier. And I experience that now as well. When I do more physically, I am hungrier. When I do more mentally, I am hungrier. Whereas actually what I found in my eating disorder was, and I think maybe this was to do with stress as well, maybe there was an overlap there, but my general experience was that the more I did, the more I added to my commitments, the more pressures I had on, the more I asked my body to do, whether that was physical or mental, the less connected I was with my appetite, the less hunger might show up. And again, this is a very generalized sweeping statement, because if I was to zoom in and get really critical, actually there may well have been louder forms of hunger showing up that I was just more disconnected from being aware of. Anyway, as I say, this video has gone on a lot longer than I anticipated. I'd encourage anyone who is listening to this, who is currently navigating recovery alongside education, to remember that your primary focus really should be your recovery. And I know that that isn't always easy and it isn't always possible, but I encourage you to get honest with yourself about what is actually truly possible, what options you do have, because you should be treating your recovery like your life depends on it, because it does. And education is something that, like for me, sat here, it is there, it is out there. And your future self will be so grateful to you for prioritizing your recovery, because that's what's going to enable your future self to be able to go and learn and engage and do the things that you really want to be doing. So I hope this has been helpful. I'm going to go and, oh look, this is really sweet. Look at this. Look at her. Isn't she cute? So cute. So I am probably do some studying at some point, but definitely first I'm going to go and just cuddle up next to Nora, because that looks like a very lovely spot that she has found. I hope wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you have a really wonderful day, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next one.